So in the last class, dear students, we have discussed about two famous freedom fighters. Can you tell me the names of those two freedom fighters? Two freedom fighters whom we have discussed in the previous class. Can you tell me the names?
Bal Gangadhar Tilak,
Yes, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and who is the other person? Panchasheel. We discussed about Panchasheel also last week in the class. And also, dear students, every day you need to please answer the questions of the given in the quiz. Next week we will have a small test in all the quiz questions that were put up, 1 to 50. 1 to 50 quiz question, 50 days quiz questions which are there. We will have a small test in that. And I had also shared 2 question banks on art and culture. Yeah, so the question banks, 50 question banks, and the art and culture question banks which I have shared. In these, we will have a test in the next weekend classes. So today, after the second one was about Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India. So today we will discuss about Gandhiji. Gandhiji, there's so much to say. Today we are enjoying our freedom. It's all because of the great freedom fighter. We call him Bapu, we call him Mahatma Gandhi. So now the question is this regarding Mahatma Gandhi, you must be learning maybe from class 3rd standard or 4th standard itself. Yeah, you must be learning. But how is it relevant to UPSC? How is it relevant to the present day world? That is very important, especially in the mains when you have questions where you need to put up your own ideas. There, this will be learning about the Gandhian's ideologies will be very much useful to you. Now, initially, what is the date of birth of Mahatma Gandhi? Date of birth and year? Anybody can tell? Anybody can tell? Nobody? You are not able to unmute yourself?
2nd October, madam.
2nd October?
Year 1869 or 1870?
1869. 1869 is correct. Yeah. And 1869, he was born. And in those days, they were studying law, barrister of law he studied. And he visited South Africa, where this incident, where he purchased a first class ticket and entered into the first class bogie. But since he was he was not an Englishman, who is not a foreigner, who is not, he's treated as black. He was not a person from a citizen of England. He was pushed out of the train. There he realized, they were in those days they were not treated equally. Yeah, the Britishers had their own powers. They used to enjoy better rights than Indians or South Africans. There he realized that every human being, whether he is a white or a black, everybody should be given equality in front of law. Everybody should be treated equally. He fought against this, and up to 1914, he was in South Africa, and finally they won that, and he came back to India. But by the time he came to India, he realized that his own country is also under the clutches of the Britishers. The Britishers were ruling the country, and they were not treating the Indians equally along with the Britishers. So he felt that getting freedom for his own country is very, very important. So he started working on it. He traveled through the length and breadth of the country, discussed, met people across the country, understood that India is a wide nation with variety of cultures and traditions. So he brought up that to conquer or to protest against the Britishers. In those days, Britishers almost occupied almost on the earth. You can say that majority of the nations were under the control of the Britishers. So England is such a small country, but they could control all over the world, most of the countries all over the world. So it was not a very easy task. But his philosophy is very, very famous. It has become like, no, even today, even to this generation, it is very much like, no, people look up to him. For various countries also, wherever there are freedom struggles going on, they have all taken Mahatma Gandhi as a role model. So let us learn about him today. So he is, first of all, in his childhood days, he was very much influenced by two stories, I should say. One is the story of Shravana Kumara. Shravana Kumara is this is a story from our mythology, which says that this boy Shravana Kumara has taken care of his old aged parents, and also they were both of them were blind, so he has taken care of them with utmost respect and love. So this story influenced Mahatma Gandhi a lot. And another story which influenced him was the story of Satya Harishchandra. When he listened to that story, when he has gone through that story, he understood that how important it is to stick to Satya, means to the truth. It's so important it is. So these are the policies that he has always followed: truth and non-violence. So he had this double-edged weapon. It is so simple, right? It is so like, no, when people were using arms and they were trying to kill the Britishers or try to attack them, when people were trying to do it like that, his two weapons were truth and non-violence. Can you imagine how much of moral mental strength he should have had, that he, with these two weapons, he finally won over the Britishers and India could get independence. So his ideologies, as I told you about those two stories, these ideologies had all the basics from different sources like Bhagavad Gita. He also read scriptures of Jainism, Buddhism, Bible. Gopalakrishna Gokhale was a freedom fighter, quite an important and committed person. From him also Mahatma Gandhi has learnt his principles. He read books of Leo Tolstoy and John Ruskin also. So all these books, like now presently, Mahatma Gandhi is the source of inspiration for leaders all over the world. But what are his inspirations? Inspirations are all these. So have you read the book? Do you know what is the book written by Mahatma Gandhi? A world famous book.
Gita, ma'am.
He wrote a book. It's his autobiography, it's also called. My Experiments with Truth. My Experiments with the Truth is the autobiography of Mahatma Gandhi. So in that book, he explained, like, no, it was what are the different things that he has come across and how he has come across all the hurdles. He has explained in that. So his inspirations are the Leo Tolstoy's book I told you, The Kingdom of God is Within You. This book has, according to Mahatma Gandhi, this had a lot of influence on him. And also Ruskin Bond's book, he has, it is Unto This Last. He referred it as Sarvodaya. Sarvodaya is also his principle. We will come across it. And now let us see who are the great people who were inspired by him. On the left, you see, is Martin Luther King from United States of America. Then on the right hand side, you see Jayaprakash Narayan. And this picture is Vinoba Bhave. These are the great leaders who have these ideologies, similar ideologies. So we have already learned that truth and nonviolence are the key concepts on which his ideology is on. So truth is always like sticking to, always speaking the truth, always sticking to what is truth. This is the ultimate reality which is there. So that is one principle he has followed throughout his life. And non-violence, doing like this Buddhism also says the same thing, right? Jainism also says talks a lot about non-violence. So this staying, even if somebody else is provoking you or hurting you, your way of giving back to them is only non-violence, right? Not to be in any way physically harming any other person. Trying to make the other person understand. This is the non-violent methods. And satyagraha, satya means truth. Agraha means you are trying to, that means it doesn't mean that non-violence doesn't mean that somebody is trying to hit you or harm you or they are trying to oppress the people of your country. It doesn't mean that you keep quiet for that. Yes, it is with what are you going to oppose all of them is with satyagraha. It is non-violent, but still you are not going to be keeping quiet with when it comes to injustice or oppression or exploitation of the people of the country. You are going to express your views, but it should be in a non-violent way. That means you are going to tell your point to the others, but with all the without causing any kind of physical hurt to them. Sarvodaya. Sarvodaya is that book which he has, John Ruskin, he has read the book, right? Until this last. Sarvodaya. Udaya means which is the awakening. So together, Sarvodaya. Sarva means everybody. Together, if we are coming up, if we are uplifting the countrymen together, not that I will be happy, it's not sufficient. Everybody should be happy and the whole country should enjoy the freedom. So that is the concept of Sarvodaya. Universally, universal uplift. You can also call it as Vasudaika Kutumbam. Now you will say, the Sanskrit saying which is there. So everybody together as one family, that is there. And Swaraj. Swaraj is my birthright. Balagangadhar Tilak. Swaraj means Raj is the rule. Swa means self-rule. So we are going to take care of our own country. We are going to rule. And finally, we got democracy, which is the rule by the people, right? So another important point is the trusteeship. So his was not, this philosophy is not just reading the scriptures. It is about the socio-economic background which the country has got into. See, India was rich with all the natural resources, but at the time when Britishers were ruling over us, all the country's resources were not managed properly, and the people were becoming poorer and poorer, not able to pay the taxes to the Britishers, and they went off into, there were great famine during that time, and also people were not able to live proper life. So this he felt that socio-economic status should be not rated properly, and people should be on an equal economic grounds. Swadeshi. So for that, what is our weavers were all broken up, their products, the textiles which they were producing were all not getting sold. The textile industries were getting shut. So in such cases, he started using this weapon. One more weapon is the Swadeshi movement. Swadeshi means our own country. Like how is Swaraj? We are ruling ourselves. Here we are taking care of Swadesh, means our own country's products we are going to use. That is nothing but our Make in India program right now. So focusing on our own wealth, our own resources, trying to export things, trying to make it a self-reliant country. So Atmanirbhar Bharat is also what self-sufficiency, especially Gandhiji has, he felt that the villages are the heart of the country. So if the villages will flourish, if there are proper markets and properly if the villagers can sell their products, he felt that that would be the greatest achievement. And you could always see in most of the pictures, you will see Gandhiji with the charkha, the spinning wheel. He said that let us weave our own clothes, let us use our own goods and products, self-made goods, so that we will not import things from the Britishers, and we will not be, at least our economy will improve. So what are the, how is it very much relevant in the day-to-day life, in the present day context? How is this very much relevant? It is this truth and non-violence. See, it has been yeah, we have celebrated 150 years of his birthday, correct? But still, even today, it is very much relevant that his policies, one is truth, non-violence, yeah, Sarvodaya, Swaraj, Swadeshi. Even today, these concepts are very much relevant to all of us. Yes, and let us see the great people all around the world. So Martin Luther King, he was inspired by Gandhiji. Nelson Mandela later, when they were working for the freedom of the country, Nelson Mandela also followed Gandhiji's footsteps. Same thing in Myanmar also, when there was a freedom struggle going on, they have all taken the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi. So Dalai Lama also, who is a great, the Buddhist monk. He was also as greatly influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. So the great, the ex-former president of United States also had taken Gandhiji as his inspiration. So he said, in my life I have looked to Gandhiji as an inspiration, because he embodies the kind of transformational change that can be made when ordinary people come together to do extraordinary things. So in those days, just taking truth and non-violence, in these non-violent methods, we could achieve independence was a great task. Now many people are great leaders all across the world are following it, but that was just a beginning of it. So that's a great philosophy that had to be taken up. So before going to another great freedom fighter or a great personality from Indian history, let's learn about this Belagavi dispute. Anybody who can tell me about this? Belagavi, where is it and why is it? Why is it in dispute? Why people have a conflict on that? Any idea?
Madam, Belgaum, usually it is called as Belgaum, which was there in Karnataka.
Correct.
And it was in Karnataka border, like Maharashtra and Karnataka border meet by. So recently in the Supreme Court, we have Maratha speaking people dispute was going on. So most of the Maratha people will be living on Belgavi. That's because of the border. But they require a reservation of Marathas. But they had been given 50% of Maratha reservations already was there. It was there 50%. So because the dispute comes under, they comes on Karnataka people which are there in Belgaum, but they required Maratha reservation. So this is the dispute which we have as of now.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. This is about, let us read a good side, Charan. So Belgavi, Belgaum, you call it. Yeah, this is a place in Karnataka. I will show you the picture. So where is it? There are many districts which are there. See, it is on the border of Maharashtra and Karnataka. Correct? So the people over here, especially if you take areas like Anantapur, when you take districts like Ballari in Karnataka, you will find 75% of them are Telugu speaking. Suppose in Ballari district, there are 75% of them are Telugu speaking, but still it comes under Karnataka. Similarly, in Anantapur also you will find people speaking Kannada also. So same way in and you can also feel that all the districts which are towards Maharashtra, which are on the border of Maharashtra, that language Kannada, the language that they speak also have a lot of Marathi influence. You can clearly make out Gulbarga, all these places are there which are on the borders of Maharashtra. So the people of Belgavi, they feel that Maharashtra feels that this district should be handed over to Maharashtra, whereas Karnataka says that in 1956 all the states have been formed based on the language, correct? So at that time only even Andhra Pradesh was formed. Previously we were called as the Madras state. Later we got separated because most of based on the language, Telugu and Tamil are two different languages. So this State Reorganization Act was there in 1956. So in that, Belgavi has been put up into Karnataka, whereas the remaining districts were put up into Maharashtra. But still, even today, people are trying to still having a dispute over this. So what happened? First one you should remember in this is the States Reorganization Act 1956. So during that time, the Maratha speaking areas which are there, though majority are Marathi speaking, but they wanted it to be into Maharashtra. So initially Karwar, Bidar, Gulbarga, these are also places which have Marathi speaking population with Kannada speaking population also. So whenever there is a dispute, what happens? There will be some committees which are put up on that. So first it goes back in history. It is State Reorganization Act of 1956. Then at that time it was handed over to Mysore state. Then slight readjustment was done. Then there was Mahajan committee. You should remember that it was put upon 1966. So Ministry of Home Affairs in those times, it was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel who was there. So he worked very hard for uniting India. Yes. So again in 1967, the committee recommended that few villages should which are in Karnataka should be given to Maharashtra. But when it came to Belgavi, they decided that it should be given to Karnataka only. So, but from 1967, again in 2006, this case continued, and Supreme Court told that, see, simply on the language criteria, it cannot be resolved. It should be done with a mutual understanding, mutual negotiation. Still, it has been, still under the, in the Supreme Court itself, this case is still going on. So now when we are talking about this 1956, State Reorganization, committee, we should first of all, talk about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. So in 1947, when the country became independent, there were around 550 princely states which were there. The Nawabs were there, the Nizams were there, the Mysore Maharaja was there, Udaipur kings were there. So several places it was ruled by small princely states. They had their own king, So all of them had to be united. All of them have to be, now that we got freedom, when we have put up our own constitution, started writing our own constitution, it was very, very important that all of us should be under one rule. So to bring them, all of them into one, I should say the one umbrella, it was the great efforts of Sardar Vallabhai Patel. So these are the four fold classifications which were there: part A, part B, part C, and part D. So initially there was only a temporary arrangement done, and then there was S.K. Dhar's committee. I should say the Home Minister of India at that time, Sardar Vallabhai Patel, Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, and also they called it as JVP. J stands for Jawaharlal Nehru, V for Vallabhai Patel, and P for Pattabhi Sitaramaiah. Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, when you listen to him, he is associated with something else also. Can you tell me? Can anyone tell? Pattabhi Sitaramaiah. In one of the banks, his photo will be there. So in one of the banks, it will be there. So he has worked hard. So this committee has worked very hard. And then, so you can see that there is state of Bombay, which had to be bifurcated, bifurcation between Gujarat and Maharashtra. Then, the state of Nagaland. So like that, Goa, Daman, Diu, all that they had the Portuguese, their Portuguese territories were there. So today we will also learn about, so these are all the states which have become were reorganized, I should say. They were all reorganized, and this reorganization kept on going. See, in 2000, you can see Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Uttaranchal also were formed. And what is the last, latest state which was formed? Latest state, this was in 2000. Last state. This at least people should tell. Telangana, both the Telugu speaking states have been divided as Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Right. So today let us learn about Sardar Vallabhai Patel. So in due respect to his contribution towards uniting India, his statue has been put up. And his birthday is celebrated as National Unity Day. 31st October, his birthday is taken as National Unity Day because he worked very hard for the reorganization of the states. And National Unity Day is also called as Rashtriya Ekata Divas. And when we are talking about Rashtriya Ekata Divas, and it is made as the tallest statue in the world also. Now, 31st October has also another prominence. Can you please tell me what is 31st October? Till 2014, before 2014, 31st October was remembered. I should not say celebrated. It was remembered as a particular day. Can anybody tell? This is a basic question. 31st October was remembered as, no idea? National Integration Day. Till before 2014, this was remembered as National Integration Day because that was the death anniversary of our former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. She was assassinated by her own security guards, and for the services that she has put in building up the nation, so her death anniversary was treated as National Integration Day. So now let us learn about Sardar Vallabhai Patel. His name is Vallabhai Patel, but people have honored him by giving him the name, by giving him the title Sardar. Sardar means in the local groups, Sardar is the head of that group. So women of Bardoli, bestowed the title Sardar on him because he united, he made it a Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, united India. And it's also India comes first in, to keep India at the foremost is the main motto of Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. So he was the Indian civil services that you are trying to aim at. He was the father of his, taken as the patron saint of that Indian civil servants, because he started with all these civil service system. So he is remembered like that also. That's why he is very important, that we should know. Next important, I should say, the religious guru is Guru Nanak Dev. We have studied about Buddhism, yes, about Gautama Buddha, Jainism, we have learned, yes. So now here, this is recently, it was the 550th birthday which was celebrated, birth anniversary which was celebrated. Guru Nanak Dev. What are his principles? When it comes to any of the religions is which will promote brotherhood. We should be united, we should be together, isn't it? So similarly here also, let us learn about Guru Nanak Dev. What is that religion that he has started up with? Followers of Guru Nanak, what are they called as? Sikhism. Yes, Sikhism. Right. So Adi Granth is the book, all his written compositions, that the principles which they lay up, any guru, the principles that they lay down are put up together as one book, as the religious document of that particular religion. So here it is called as Adi Granth. It was later compiled by Guru Arjan, right? And Guru Gobind, 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Sahib. So Guru Nanak Dev, we can say, is the first guru in the Sikhism, right? So what are the things, like now every case we are either freedom fighter or a religious leader, we are trying to find out why his philosophies, why those philosophies are very, very important even in the modern India. So Guru Nanak Dev's philosophy is building an egalitarian society. What is this egalitarian society? Any idea anybody has? Yeah, any guru, any famous leader, what they feel that everybody should be treated equally. So this is about this society, egalitarian society talks about equality in all your rights. Everybody should be treated equally, equal treatment, equal rights, and equal opportunities for everybody. So in a decision making, everybody should be involved. Usually what happened, see the religious people over there, over in the centuries, the religious people have always tried to oppress the lower, they divided the system into different castes. The caste system was very much in vogue, and what happened, this caste hierarchy, the lower section people were oppressed like anything. They were not given equal rights. So in such a case, Guru Nanak Dev felt that there should be a casteless society where everybody is given equal opportunities, equal rights, and also equal treatment. So for this, he started 3 concepts. One is langar. That means langar, see any Gurudwara you go, you'll have langar. Langar means collectively they will cook the food. Yeah, collectively cooking food is langar. Everybody can participate. You can become a volunteer, and for that day you can go make some chapatis or help them in making rice or some sambar or anything. Whatever food is getting prepared, you can become a volunteer and you can work on that. So collectively when we are together cooking, that is langar. Pangat means together we are eating. What is prepared, also should be equally shared, means should be taken up together. Yeah, in the olden days, what used to happen is, because of this caste system, so the Shudras were not allowed to have food along with the higher caste people. So to avoid that, Pangat means whatever is prepared together is that food we are taking together. And also collective Sangat. Sangat means together you are going to make any decision. So decisions are to be put up, decisions are to be discussed, decisions are to be made with giving importance to everybody. So this egalitarian practices, or this kind of society, you will, when you date back in history, you will find it in Kalahari Desert, and also in few places in Australia also, this you will come across. So he has directly, see, you can see the majority of the new religions have come up only when the atrocities of the people, the religious heads, have become too much. Then only this kind of to challenge them, these kind of systems have come up. So it has really challenged untouchability and caste system. So social harmony, these two are very, very important. Means jiye ka ek data. It means that God's creation is one, the whole world. Like Sabka Malik Ek. Like when we see Shirdi Sai Baba, there it will be written Sabka Malik Ek. When for everybody, when the God is same, then why are we differentiating among ourselves and trying to prove that we are superior to others? And also one more important concept of Guru Nanak is Ek Omkar Satnam. There's only one creator, and let there be no distinction. There should be equality. As I have priorly told you, Vasudaika Kutumbam. This is also there in our Sanskrit scriptures. So what are the basic principles of these teachings? Forgiveness, patience, Shraddha, Saburi. What you get, right? So like that only here we have forgiveness, patience, forbearance, and also kindness. Kindness not only to human beings, to all the living things on the earth. So he created this for making a society with the proper justice, taking out of the, in those days it was not only untouchability, there were so many other widows were not allowed to get married again. There was child marriages kind of system was going on, and sati system also was going on. That means when the husband dies, the wife also was forced to die along with him. So these were the different concepts that have come up. So kirat karo, naam japo, and vand chako, share and eat. So let us, I am sharing this document with all of you students, and along with this we have few questions also referred to you. Please go through those questions. There's one more Swami Vivekananda. In the next class we will go through that, and there are few questions which are there with the answers. Please related to ancient history, please go through them. Okay, so and remember, next weekend we have a test in the first 50 question banks. I will share you the document once again if you have missed it out, and also 2 art and culture worksheets which I have given you. In all these 3, there will be a test in the next weekend. So let's meet tomorrow. Any doubts? This meeting may end. I have already shared this document, I suppose, with all of you. Let me check. Dear students, shall we end the session? So we'll meet tomorrow.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.